Thank you for joining us for this podcast linked to the City Quantum and AI Summit. I'm Paolo Cuomo, co-founder of Quantum London, and today we have Bruce Beckloff talking to us. Bruce works at Bloc Ventures, and it's going to be great hearing from him for the next 10 or 12 minutes on what he's doing there. So diving straight in, Bruce, tell us a bit about yourself and about Bloc and how that's led to the world of quantum and AI.
Yeah, well, Pablo, thank you for letting me join you this morning. A little bit about Block and my background. So, Block Ventures is a permanent capital venture investment vehicle that invests in deep tech. It might just be because we talk a lot about deep tech, it might be very useful to just explain what we mean by deep tech. And in any business, there's a technology stack. So, technology stack is, how you run your businesses. And what Block and many of the deep tech investors do, look for that technologies that's deeper down that technology stack. And those are sort of some very key pieces of technology that help companies run their businesses. So my background, I spent the last 10 years at Block, so we've been going just over 10 years. Prior to that, I spent 12 years at ARM, the microprocessor guys out of Cambridge, now out of California. And I spent a lot of time there in various roles. I was head of their strategic marketing group. I then ran their corporate development team, which venture investing became a part. I created ARM Ventures essentially while I was there. Prior to that, as you can tell from the accent, I'm an American, so I was over working in Texas Instruments, actually building semiconductors in the fab, and before that, I was at university studying material science. So again, Block actually is I spent a lot of time while I was at ARM investing in small companies in the technology space, and Block was formed with essentially the head of Vodafone Ventures. And so this Block is a bit like Vodafone and ARM coming together to invest in technology. Now, we got into quantum and the AI space. We look at a roadmap of technology that is coming through, and there's technology near term today, whether it's SaaS or whether it's other kind of computing technologies that are being commercialized today. But along that roadmap, there's other technologies in the future that we want to make sure we're preparing for, and that we're investing in things today that we can see being very influential in the future. And so, today might be again computing in its sort of more natural way in the server space, data center. We're looking heavily in the AI space. We've actually made a couple of investments in the AI space in different areas. And then in the future, we're really looking at quantum, about how quantum is really going to change a lot of things alongside of the sort of more traditional spaces that are in place today. So over the last 10 years, we've really been working to engage with companies in that space. Block itself is a little bit different because we feel the biggest gap in Europe and the UK is really around commercialization and capital. So Block was formed essentially to take our operational skills from Vodafone and ARM and help these young companies really with rolled up sleeves to get in there and help them commercialize and productionize so that we can get these technologies out into the marketplace and really to establish the UK as a technology hub in these spaces.
And just building on that point about the UK, because we hear so much about how the UK is great at initial ideas, but then sort of these companies maybe move abroad because of investment issues and things. So you feel that you can make a difference from that point of view.
Well, look, we have ARM may have not stuck around forever, but I think that was more of a SoftBank influence than maybe their own. But in its own right, ARM is a great example. Had an unbelievable engineering team out of Cambridge that always underpromised and over-delivered, and they got great US marketing and sales teams that were able to overpromise, but luckily met with the Cambridge engineers that hit the mark. So we believe that model is quite strong. I mean, again, as an American, we're sort of brought up in marketing and commercialization, but the technology here is incredible. And I think it's a shame that we're not able to get more of that technology into the world. And what the technologists over here and what we feel at Block they're missing is the sort of almost commercial founder to go alongside of them. And that, again, deep tech is a very long-term burn. So if you look at deep technologies, I mean, quantum AI, all of these things, they quite often are 5, 10, 20 years old by the time they get into the market. So the technologists that have created it, they're not 28-year-olds just out of university with their new PhDs. They're very established individuals. And they sometimes find it very difficult to find their commercial teammate to take these technologies forward. And that's really where Bloc, tries to fit, is to be that sort of commercial teammate alongside of those companies. It's a great Renee Haas at ARM just made a great comment recently, and ARM was incubated in Acorn for 10 years, and then it came out, and then he said it took him 10 or 20 years to make the first billion. It took them 10 years to make their next billion, and it took them 3 months to make their next billion. So it takes a very long time, but once you get these things going, they can really, be quite instrumental in the world. And I think AI is having its day today, probably because of some of the changes and that have happened recently, and we can see quantum having a very similar effect in the future at some point.
That makes sense. And if we then look to that future from a commercialization point of view, what do you feel might be the ways that these go from being impressive technologies to sources of meaningful value?
I think there's a lot of ecosystem work that needs to go on. I think we quite often sort of, when these new technologies come out, we forget about the supply chain. And the supply chain, again, coming from a corporate background, the whole world is driven by supply chain. And you can have the greatest chip technology to come out tomorrow out of the fab, but you sort of forget that the guy buying your technology has probably a whole warehouse full of other chips that they have to get rid of. No one's going to just throw other things away. And then around those chips and those technologies, you got to build the software and everything around it. And so, what we were very excited about is that ecosystem being built, and you can already see it with Multiverse building the software environments around it. You've got the hardware tech guys that are in quantum building the new technology sources, and then what we need is then the application layers for people to take those forward so that you can actually get the productivity out. And again, we see quantum as really, deep tech in general is a productivity enabler. Again, it's at this bottom layer of the tech. If you look at what AI is doing today, even with ChatGPT and all these things, I mean, it's certainly making my son, more efficient at writing reports about Macbeth. But it is being able to enable some incredible productivity gains, and so we see that happening, and we can see the same thing happening in quantum. Now, quantum will for a very long time, it's not going to surpass or just end the technologies that are there today. We need to find the real application spaces that quantum can make a difference. I mean, a great example is in the financial industry, right? Your Monte Carlo simulations couldn't be more set up. You need all the answers at once to find out what the problem was. And that's where quantum really comes into its own, where you get so many different answers at one time. You really then boil back to what the real question is, and that's where you can really see an influence. So there's going to be some really interesting again, drug discovery, all these things where you have very large simulations. A lot of different things need to be computed, but it's better when they're non-linear. That's where we see quantum really making a real inroad into the industry.
Fantastic. That makes a lot of sense, and I think it's interesting. A few years ago we were talking about these sort of ideas almost hypothetically. Now we're hearing people like you with much more specificity. How much are you having to sort of educate large companies that quantum is going to be offering that, or are you seeing that many large organizations now are having experts in-house almost looking for people like you to work with?
I think large corporations are, again, you think of a continuum, large organizations tend to be slow. Right. They're just, again, think of it, go back to my tech stack and don't even think about it as a linear stack. I've been using the analogy recently of Jenga. Most people know what Jenga is. You've got a stack, you've got all these bricks inside. And if you think about technology stacks are like that Jenga stack. And so an entire business is reliant on that Jenga stack. And so to get one of those bricks out, it takes a lot of there's risk, and that risk can risk your entire business. And so, we do have to understand that, for these new technologies come on, that companies have to feel that risk is dissipated. And so even then there'll be small trials and those move into larger trials. So, we see AI is in that stack. You can see lots more bricks because more people are being comfortable with artificial intelligence to enable us to run our business stacks. And those, you've now got enterprise grade AI technologies out there that, again, large enterprises can feel comfortable with. Where we see it in quantum is they're sort of poking at the bricks. They're feeling and they've got people that are understanding the interdependencies of these technologies within their overall organization. So we see them as, probably at a certain level more at an R&D stage, but that R&D stage is more, understanding the effects it'll have on their business, so that when these technologies are de-risked, are enterprise grade, where they can feel comfortable about moving one brick out to put another Jenga brick in, I think they'll move quickly. And actually, we've seen in the AI space, probably enterprises move more quickly than we've seen in most technology sort of evolutions. Now, I think a lot of that is there's a lot of large enterprises that are producing these enterprise grade AI opportunities. So, with Microsoft or something like that, generally an enterprise who's worked with them for a very long time will feel very comfortable. So, I think again, we'll likely see, people are becoming more comfortable with new technologies quicker, but that's because I think we're getting to de-risk those new technologies quicker for enterprises to be able to integrate them into their technology stacks.
Perfect. Makes a lot of sense. Now we're having this discussion in the context of the lead up to the Citi Quantum and AI Summit. You'll be there. What are you most looking forward to sharing with the audience and engaging with people on?
Well, I think, if you look at the lineup, you give it to Karina and her team. It's an incredible lineup of speakers and people that'll be in the audience. And what I'm going to quite enjoy, I go to a lot of events, and you hear ion trap this or entanglement that, which is sort of buzzwords around quantum, and no one's really talking about how they're going to use it in their business, because this is all a technology. Oh, look, my quantum's better than your quantum. And what I'm quite looking forward to at the event on the 7th is really interacting with people that are talking about it, how it's going to affect their business, because I'm very interested in that application layer and where those applications lie. And again, I'm not in the enterprises. I'm not in the boardrooms to really understand how they're integrating these technologies. So I want to be able to interact with people that are integrating, are looking, so I can better understand in my business how to find the technologies that will intersect them in 3 to 5 years' time, so I can invest in them, so I can help those companies commercialize.
Fantastic. Makes sense. And that leads nicely then to the final question. In terms then of the future ambition for you and for Bloc, where do you feel you're going?
Well, we've had the same ambition for the last decade, and it's been, I would admit, harder. But what we want to do here at Bloc is actually build a technology industry and ecosystem in the UK. I'm a little bit self-centered. I've got 3 children. I'd rather them not fly all the way over to California and me to have to travel for 12 hours to go see them. I'd like them to have an industry here where they can work and thrive. And so what we want to see is very large indigenous tech companies here in the UK. I'm here as an American because it was easier to travel to headquarters and live in where headquarters was. So, Cambridge was the headquarters, so I moved over here. And that's what we'd like to see, is a real solid indigenous tech industry in the UK. And that's what Bloc's going to try to help build.
Fantastic. Well, that's certainly needed, and great that you guys are leading on that. Bruce, thank you for your time. Look forward to speaking to you more at the summit.
All right. Thanks, Pablo. Thanks for your time. Take care.